The race for the White House remains a toss-up. Polling ahead of today showed Pennsylvania and Michigan neck and neck for both candidates. Both Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Trump made their final pitch to voters in Pennsylvania and Michigan.
Yeah, and today the VP will head to her headquarters at Howard University to wait out the results. And Trump heads to Florida, where he will watch the results. And this morning we are joined by Soren Jordan, a political science professor from A&M University. Thanks so much for being with us.
Hi, Melissa. Hi, Heather. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Okay, well, let me start by asking you, as we head into Election Day, Fox News Power Rankings gave Harris 226 and Trump 230 presumptive Electoral College votes heading in. But, of course, it still remains a toss-up for the path to 270. So what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I think today all eyes are focused on 7 key states, which are going to be Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona. And of those 7, Pennsylvania is far and away the most important. It's got a lot of electoral votes up for grabs, and the margin there in presidential polling is extremely tight, within 0.2%.
Well, we know that both campaigns have spent more time and money in Pennsylvania than any other swing state. We've seen them there the last few days. The latest Fox News poll shows the race neck and neck there. Will that be the deciding state, do you feel?
It's hard to say, but it seems extremely likely for a couple of reasons. The first is because there are so many electoral votes up for grabs, but the second is a little bit more technical, which is that Pennsylvania has a lot of early and mail-in votes to cast, and there's a lot of ongoing legal challenges to those votes. So it's highly likely that not only will Pennsylvania be extremely important, we actually won't know who won Pennsylvania until probably sometime later this week.
Wow. Well, and I have to ask you, because, you know, we're seeing all these polls that show a very tight race, but I remember in the previous election, there was a sort of a surprise factor. Not everybody always said exactly who they were going to vote for when Trump won the presidency that year. So how much merit should we be putting in these poll results?
That's a great question. Political scientists and statisticians always pay attention to what we call a margin of error. And it's really important to note that in these swing states, most of the polling that we see is within that margin of error. So even though it looks like one candidate might have an edge in a particular state, it's statistically looking more and more like a tie. And that represents this idea that some people may not like telling pollsters who they're going to vote for beforehand, or that it's just really hard to identify exactly who's going to turn out both before election and early voting, as well as on Election Day.
We talked about really keeping a close eye on Pennsylvania today. Anything else that you think we should really closely be watching?
Well, interestingly, a lot of people are closely going to be watching Texas, but not for our presidential election result. In order for Democrats to maintain control in the Senate, it's really important for them to do well in the Senate contest between Cruz and Colin Allred. It's looking like Ted Cruz is polling about 4 percentage points ahead of Colin Allred at this point, but expect for a lot of Democrats to be paying attention to our state in particular to see if he's able to maintain that seat or if Allred will be able to flip it.
All right. Soren Jordan with A&M University, thanks so much for being with us. We really appreciate you sharing these insights.
Absolutely. Happy Election Day.
Oh, yeah, back at you. I hope it is one for sure.